Hello and welcome to the medical practice video, which is part of the 3P series. Please make sure that you have the medical practice booklet, your coloured pencils and pen before you work your way through this video. In this video we are by now going over familiar territory, and these are while loops and records. Look in your programming booklet to remind yourself of these structures before you continue with this video. We have looked at this particular slide on a couple of occasions already, so I'm not going to go into detail on this occasion. However, do spend a few minutes reminding yourself how to write a while loop. We need to have an input before the while loop in order to test the while loop condition. This is the variable grade which has been initialized to 0 just after the word or keyword begin. The grade is inputted in the while loop, which will again test the while condition. You will not always need a counter in a while loop, but it is needed on this occasion to calculate the average. Here we also have a counter in a while loop. This pseudocode is also showing the layout of a record. Again, take note how to declare a record as well as how to input data into a record. Knowing how to write various loops, case statements, arrays, functions and records is crucial if you want to get top marks for programming questions in your exams. Here is another familiar slide. Spend some time on this slide if you need to. Again, take note on how to write a record declaration as well as inputting and outputting of data from a record. Here is our very familiar tick list. Let's make sure that as part of our revision we know these steps. Having a plan going into an exam will calm your nerves and give you confidence in being able to tackle any pseudocode problem. This question is on page 1 of your booklet. Right from the start you can see that there are going to be several requirements, judging by the number of bullet points there are. Read the question through at least twice, then using your coloured pencils annotate the inputs, processing, outputs and important information in this question. Pause the video while you do this. You'll be able to see my annotation on the next slide. Here is my understanding of the important elements of this question. Pause the video if you need to and make sure that your annotation is the same as mine. Then continue. On page 2 of your booklet you will see where you need to put in the requirements and complete the table. Spend a few moments doing this now. Then when you're ready, see my answers on the next page. There is a lot of information we can take out of this question. Please spend a few moments making sure that you have all of this information in your booklet. In the processing section, you will see the S total and D total formulas. These are here for the requirements. Calculate the sum of the D values and the S values. On page 2 we have our checklist. Let's spend a few minutes thinking about what elements we are going to need to use. Firstly, we need to put in the name of our procedure. This is going to be followed by the keyword begin. We have to declare our record. Then once declared, we can open our record. Now we will look to declare our local variables and do any initialization if required. Inputs are next, and as far as you can see from the slide, we need to put an if statement in to test if the heart rate is over 180 beats per minute, and if so, issue an alarm message. We are going to need a while loop to do several instructions. To start with, we will calculate the totals of the S and D values. Then we will need to use a counter to add up the number of entries. Our last instruction in the loop will be to input S and D values to test the while loop condition. We will also need to include the if statement to see if an alarm message is required. We finish with an end if, followed by an end while. We perform a second set of calculations outside the loop to find the average D and S values. The output will display the total and the average results of the D and S values. We then close out the algorithm with the keyword end. Pause the video at this point and make sure that your checklist is the same as mine. Once you have done this, you should be ready to write your code. You can have a choice of either having a go and writing out the code yourself. Then once you have done that, play the video through until you see the solution. Or you can follow along with me as we write this code out step by step. We need to start off with our procedural title, followed by the keyword begin. We then need to declare our record with the name of the record, which is patient, followed by a dot and then the various fields. Each field is assigned a data type. We close out the record declaration with the keyword end type. Now we open the record. The next block of code is declaring the various variables, giving them a data type and initializing all of them. The X variable is to record the number of entries. After the variables come the inputs, followed by the if statement to see if the blood pressure is over 180 beats per minute. Remember to close out the if statement with end if. The while loop has quite a bit of detail. First of all, there is the condition, which says if a D value and S value are not both 0, then we stay in the loop. Otherwise, the loop will end. Whilst we are in the loop, the S totals and D totals are added up from the input given outside the loop. The counter is incremented by 1 for each pair of readings. We then test the loop again by new inputs and if statements, which in turn is added to the totals. Again, make sure to bookend your control structures with end if and end while. When a D value is entered as 0 and an S value is entered as 0, we come out of the loop and close the record. Further calculations are done to find the average D value and S value. Finally, we finish with the output statements. Take note how the variable answers are described using speech marks. If you attempted the solution and have not been following along with me, well done for trying. Can you pause the video for the moment and copy down my solution on page 4? On page 5 of your booklet is this similar problem. Read through the problem at least twice and annotate this passage with coloured pencils for inputs, processing, outputs and any other important information. Then on page 6, complete all of the requirements and table before writing your code on page 7. As always, double check that you have completed this booklet as thoroughly as possible, because you will need this to revise from. Then hand the booklet in to me so I can mark your work. Thank you for watching the video. I will see you again in our last video of this series, where we will look at how to swap and sort numbers. Until then, goodbye.